Have you ever been bored? Maybe you're sitting in a doctor's office or something like that, and you just start counting the carpet squares? Because that's happened to me before. In fact, it may have happened to you when you're sitting in a classroom and you start counting the squares on the floor, or maybe the ceiling tiles. A similar thing happened to me recently. I was at a drive through for Taco Bell. Don't judge me. And I noticed that it said that the giant Cheez It, right, their new gimmick, was 16 times the Cheez It platform. Cheez Its are typically small, and they had a giant Cheez It, and it plays out the way you would think it does. Their giant Cheez It is the same size as 16 Cheez Its put together. So 16 Cheez Its is a single giant Cheez It. If we look at a single Cheez It, you'll notice that it has roughly two dimensions. We're not going to worry about the thickness here. That's not really important. It has a length and a width. Now, for our video here, we're going to assume that the Cheez-Its are squares and that they're 1 inch by 1 inch. While making this video, I found out that that is not quite true, and I can't handle that idea. So a Cheez-It has an area, a length times a width. In our case, 1 inch by 1 inch. We even read it that way. We would say an inch by an inch. So we perform that multiplication. We can rearrange, do 1 times 1, and talk about what inch times inch means. We typically write that as inch squared. It means a square that is 1 inch by 1 inch, an inch squared. A square inch. Why do we care about this concept? Well, let's say I have a wall in my house and I just want to make it look better. I'm going to make a color accent wall in my house. I'm going to paint one house a different color. I could take post-it notes and put them up on the wall, and it seems kind of similar to my Cheez-It idea and doesn't look the best. But the concept remains the same. How many of these squares do I need to cover my wall? I'm really after the idea of how big is the wall I'm attempting to paint. We now know that that is the question: how much area does the wall have? And measuring it in Cheez-Its might take forever. It's a little larger, so I'm going to instead think of this as painting these squares that are 1 foot by 1 foot. And I just take my paintbrush and I measure these 1 foot by 1 foot squares. So if the wall is 10 feet by 11 feet, how much will I need to paint? Well, the area is the length times the width. In this case, 10 feet by 11 feet, which results in 110 feet squared. And I read it like that: 110 feet squared. Although we now know, looking at that unit, hey, that's the same as this 1 foot by 1 foot square of green paint. What I might actually be after, though, is how much it's going to cost to do this project. We can use some of the unit conversion stuff we've been learning about. So in this case, the paint I'm after cost $22 per gallon. And I want to go from the wall I'm staring at to the cost. So I'm going to use unit conversion to go on this journey from the wall to the cost. So I have my wall here. It's not really what I want to talk about, though. So I move to get rid of that unit. Don't want to talk about walls. What is it about the wall I want to talk about? Its area, measured in feet squared, as we just learned about previously. That's 110 feet squared. I now have feet squared. Don't want to talk about feet squared. And note how when I go to do the unit conversion, the current unit I'm in, feet squared, I don't want, so I place that opposite. In this case, the feet squared I have is in the numerator, so I'm going to place feet squared in the denominator. Now, I'm trying to get to cost. Before that, I'm going to go to gallons, and I have no idea how much I can expect a gallon of paint to cover. So let's Google that real quick. 1 gallon is going to cover 300 to 400 square feet. I'm going to go with the conservative estimate here. I'm not very good at, I might lose a bunch of paint. So I have 300 feet squared will be covered by a single gallon. Well, now I'm having the conversation in terms of gallons of paint I need, but again, I wanted to talk about the cost it might be. So I have gallons, don't want gallons, want cost. 1 gallon is $22 for the color of paint that I want. I do a final check here. Wall cancels, feet cancels, gallons cancel. I'll be left with only the cost left, measured in dollars. That gets me $8.07. And now I've completed my journey from talking about the wall to talking about the cost. Since I don't need a full gallon, maybe I'll buy a smaller size. So I go to the store and they sell it in pints. And I'm also going to split this up into 2 separate conversions, realizing my problem from before. I'm first going to figure out how many pints I need to buy, and then I'm going to convert those pints to cost. You'll note here I do 3 pints and I convert that to $18. A lot of times we don't show our work properly here. People will just take the 3 and multiply it by the 6, but we'll see using unit conversion, we can make sure that we've done that work correctly. I really am converting from 3 pints of paint to the cost. And so what remains the same in all of these problems, right? Whether it be our silly Cheez-It system or a different measure of area, is that we're always thinking of it in terms of these squares that have 2 dimensions, a length and a width. It could be a foot squared, an inch squared, or a centimeter squared, but you will always see this square. Now, as silly as the Cheez-Its might have been, let's get more silly for a moment here. Now my room smells like paint, and I don't like that. It's okay though. Pull out my phone, and Amazon sells everything you could possibly need, so I'm just going to ship in a bunch of fresh air. Off the truck comes a box of fresh air. How many boxes would I need to fill my room with fresh air? Well, these boxes are just cubes. And whereas our Cheez-Its, our squares, had 2 dimensions to them, length and width, our cubes, our boxes of fresh air in this example, will have 3 dimensions, length, width, and depth. This is a measure of volume. How much is it going to take to fill the space? Our boxes are 1 foot cubed. A cube that is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. So 1 cubic foot, or 1 foot cubed. Now, we don't tend to measure volume this way, though. You don't open your refrigerator and see cubic feet of milk in there. You see a gallon of milk. Looking at our conversions, our common units that have conversions as well, we could instead think about what it would take to fill the room with, say, a liquid. Right? How many liters, how many gallons? But let's convert this into a problem that makes a little more sense. Still going to stay plenty silly, don't worry. Let's say we have a pool outside. Now, our pool holds 3,955 gallons of water, and my water bottle only holds 500 milliliters. And I want to know how many trips to the faucet and back with my water bottle would it take to fill this pool. I'm going to complete the journey similar to what we did before, starting with my pool. What is it about the pool I want to talk about? How many gallons of water? 3,955 gallons given in the problem above. Have gallons, don't want to talk about gallons. Trying to get to 500 milliliters. It can be a bit overwhelming when you have all these conversion sheets in front of you, so it's useful to keep in mind where you're trying to go. The issue right now is that I'm in the US system and I need to convert to the metric system, so I need to decide where I'm going to make that leap from one measurement system to the other. And looking at my sheet here, I'm going to do this right here from quarts to liters. That's where I'm going to make the jump from one system to the other. So where am I trying to go from gallons? I'm trying to get to quarts. I note that 1 gallon is 4 quarts. And from the sheet we were just looking at, 1 quart is 0.95 liters. Trying to get to that milliliters though, and I want to take the chance to really slow down here and show my thought process when we do these unit conversions. I currently have liters, don't want liters, so I'll place that in the denominator. That'll get that cancellation of units I'm after. Where I'm trying to get to is milliliters. Now, it's going to be really nice if I find that on my sheet. So let's go look. I'm not talking about length. I'm not talking about mass. I'm talking about volume or capacity. So I focus my attentions there. And sure enough, I see a conversion from milliliters to liters. Now note that in my work so far, I've set up my plan of action from liters to milliliters. Once I've located the conversion, I can now plug in those values. The 1 goes with the milliliters, and the 0.01 goes with the liters. Don't get caught up in thinking that one of these values has to be in the numerator and the other one has to be in the numerator. We're trying to line them up according to our sheet. Well, now I'm talking about milliliters. Have milliliters, don't want milliliters, want water bottles. Every 500 milliliters will be a water bottle. I look, check, make sure all my units cancel, complete my calculation, and find out that this would take a little over 30,000 water bottles.